tell you that over the last 12 months we've been busy. In November, and for the first time ever, the Wales Tourism Alliance has a fully paid executive director. His name is Adrian Greason-Walker. Most of you at some stage will probably have come across him. He's been, again, employed by the Wales Tourism Alliance for the last 12 months. And he and I spent 3 days in Cardiff talking with mostly members of the Assembly, and we also included some high-ranking officials within the Welsh Assembly government, which included the then Director General responsible for economy and transport. Needless to say, these things are constantly changing, and of course we're coming up to election, and there's going to be a huge new number, I hope, of Assembly members after May the 5th. But little did we know, having had this very useful conversation with the Director General, the then Director General of Economy and Transport, 1 month later he gets moved on. Such is life. In the same way that you think you have a good relationship with the Minister responsible for tourism, and currently, as you know, it's Alan Fred, who is Minister responsible for heritage, in which tourism is located. That may change after May, who knows. But you can bet your bottom dollar that the Minister responsible for tourism after May the 5th won't be Alan Fred, because that's sort of what happens, isn't it? So we have to build these relationships all over again. Anyway, we spent 3 days in Cardiff talking with all of these people, making sure that tourism was high on their agenda, because I think that is ultimately our responsibility. Our responsibility is to ensure that our members, and we only have 24 members, but each of those members is a member organisation. So for instance, in this neck of the woods, the South East Wales Tourism Forum is a member. So whether you think it or not, you probably are, loosely perhaps, a member of the Wales Tourism Alliance. And it's our responsibility to represent the membership of Wales to ensure that industry is not just high on the agenda, but it continually goes up the agenda. Because tourism is critical to Wales. It's proven its economic resilience in these very challenging times. It doesn't headline because we don't have a factory of 2,000 people whose jobs are threatened when some international manufacturer decides to go somewhere where there's a better, cheaper deal being made available to them from a different government in a different country. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We've been here for centuries, and I sincerely hope we'll be here for centuries. We're not going anywhere. We are a good place to invest. And we provide huge numbers of jobs. And if you go by the Deloitte's study, which was completed in July last year, the number of jobs available in tourism is due to increase, and the income created by tourism, the gross value added, is due to increase substantially in the next 10 years. So we're a good place to invest in, and we need to ensure that government understands this, and we need to ensure, perhaps more importantly, that politicians, that part of government, understand this. I'll come back to this as my parting shot. Okay, so over the last 12 months, not only did we spend 3 days in Cardiff, but in February we spent 4 days in Westminster. We spoke to, or had meetings with, 22 of the 40 Welsh MPs. And we also had a very good conversation with the newly lauded David Wigley. And as a result of that, we came back with a slightly different mission. With the agreement of all 4 main parties of the Welsh MPs, we, I think, are going to be setting up an all-Welsh group of MPs to deal specifically with tourism, which will be the first time this has ever happened. And every single MP was in favour of this. And we even had the support of, I think we had to call her the Secretary of State for Wales. We even had her support that we could have a tourism summit within her own office. So there is a lot of goodwill towards tourism from Westminster for Wales. And it is absolutely our intention over the next 12 months to make sure that that goodwill has a harvest. The harvest will be, I hope, to set up this all-party group of Welsh MPs to deal with tourism, which we will make count. We will not be meeting on a regular basis. We will only call for it to meet when we've got specific issues we need to be dealt with. And then, having spent 4 days in Westminster, we then moved to Scotland, and we spent 2 days in Edinburgh. And you might say, well, why are you doing this sort of national tour? And the answer is very simple. In Scotland, a similar organisation to the Wales Tourism Alliance is called the Scottish Tourism Forum. And it comprises members of the industry. It is a member organisation, and it exists to challenge Scottish Government, and also to an extent Westminster, on all of those issues that we are challenging from here, our own direct and Westminster governments. And we found that there's an awful lot we have in common. They have done things which are stuff that we have in mind, and because they've done it, there are lessons to be learnt by shortcuts. And equally, in some instances, we have done things which they have aspirations to achieve, and we have been, or will be able to give them equal shortcuts. But we realised that because there were various issues that were similar to us both, and also having watched the budget of Visit Britain slashed by 35%, and I think the budget of Visit England slashed by 35–40%, there is a big concern from those bits of the tourism industry in the UK, but not in England. There is a concern, and I think it's heightened now because of budget cuts, to ensure that the responsibility and role of Visit Britain, which is to market the UK outside of the UK, fully takes on the industry that exists in Scotland and Wales, and we're hoping to pick up Northern Ireland, and not just England. So we have a bit of a Celtic fringe growing, and we have in mind to jointly go down and see various pan-UK organisations, such as the Federation of Small Businesses, and also to ensure that we have the ear of those people who sit on appropriate select committees, or indeed have ministerial responsibilities, such as perhaps even John Penrose himself, who is our current Minister for Tourism, to ensure that there is an understanding that tourism isn't in the UK about England, it's about the UK. And it isn't just about London, it is about all the rest of the UK. Now, you could say there's some hope from the recent tourism strategy announced by John Penrose, which says that they will set up the equivalent of destination marketing areas, which will be perhaps clusters of tourism boards. This is a little bit radical. Rather than have Visit England, they're talking about having areas which then make the tourism board. The terminology, I think, could be a bit clearer, but I think basically what he's saying is that because the customer doesn't recognise borders, then it's appropriate that the solutions to marketing and managing tourism should also not be conventional borders. Whether you believe in this or not, the concern we have on this side of Offa's Dyke is that this is a recipe for massive confusion. And if we're not careful, the confusion will overtake the whole of UK effort. And we are adamant that with Scotland and Northern Ireland, Wales will have a voice which is listened to ensure that Wales is absolutely on the map for tourism, and especially for inbound tourists. So you could say this is part of our sort of influential role. Another part of our influential role we consider to be trying to get to Welsh Assembly government before these damn consultations come out. We have responded to 20 consultations in the last 12 months. You will be aware, I'm sure, of all of these consultations that are coming out time and time again. And sometimes they have long deadlines, and sometimes they have ridiculously short deadlines. I recall there was one to do with tobacco, which came out in August, which had a 4-week deadline. And they were surprised that there wasn't a huge response. Wow. Get real to the tourism industry, people. And we think that what we need to do is get to government before it produces the consultations, because, I don't know about you, but it's certainly got to the point where we think that these consultations are actually just paying lip service to the process. that actually somebody's made up his or her mind that this is what they're going to do, but they're going to go out to consultation, and when the responses have come back, they'll then go ahead with what they wanted to do in the first place. Supposedly with absolute approval of all those people who responded to consultation. Have you ever done an analysis of the consultational responses? We tried to do one. It became almost impossible. Very difficult to understand what actually was the response of the industry. Now, not all of these consultations are specific to tourism. Some of them go much wider, such as alcohol. But many of them are specific to tourism, and we have in mind to try and do something about injecting our influence into Welsh Assembly Government's planned strategic response or approach before the consultations come out. So, over the last 12 months we have been busy, as well as ensuring that communication has been consistent, and we've been sending out approximately 2 newsletters per month. We've decided that actually we need to move for the times, these digital times. So, we have a new website which, and I've got John in front of me, who assures me that this is absolutely, I can say this, I've been saying it for 7 days, but I'm going to say it again today, a new website which goes live today. There are always teething problems. There's a new website which goes live today, which is very different, but it also picks up, of course it has to, all of these social media tricks. So there is somebody twittering, and Adrian is the Twitter, and all sorts of other social media tricks, as well as a Facebook account. So you will see us come in from there. But we will still have newsletters which will link back to our new website. So you'll be sucked in. You may not appreciate it. I hope you do. You'll be sucked into the new website. I would like to think that you will use it as an opportunity to express your opinions. The whole process behind this new site is to encourage the industry to engage with us. Because at the end of the day, we can only be an accurate one voice for the industry if we are being accurate with our message. And our message has to be what the industry feels. That's you. So it's critical that you tell us how you feel, and it's critical that this new website, which I'm afraid is totally my fault, it's critical that this website works. Otherwise I won't be in this position in 12 months' time. So I'd like to think it works, and I'd like to think you engage with it. I certainly would like to think that you look at it, but you'll be prompted to do that once it really is live, which it might be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be the day after. But it's going to happen. It's imminent. And I suppose my last point would be this, that I think our responsibility, as I said before, is to ensure that on your behalf, with one voice, we engage with government, wherever the government be. But it's not that simple, and we can only afford to employ one person, and we have a board of executives, there are 8 of us, who try our very, very hardest. But there is a limit to what we have to do, and we all still have our own businesses to run. The message that needs to go to governments has to come from all of us. And as we come up to May the 5th, there's an election going on, just up the road I'm told. It is important that your local MPs understand where tourism sits in the local economy, its significance now, and historically, especially its resilience over the last 2 years, but perhaps more crucially than that, its significance over the next 10 years and beyond, that we're not going anywhere. We are going to continue to contribute to the economy. We're going to continue to contribute to employment. And potentially we can employ more people if we're allowed to. That's the messages that I'm taking, that the Executive Board are taking, that our Director is taking to government, be they officials or elected politicians. But your support is needed. You, each and every one of you, is an ambassador. So at every given opportunity, whether it's national, Welsh, or even local authority elected politicians, please take the message, because together we can deliver. Thank you.